On the third day, Dagon stopped pretending the road was the reason he could not breathe. The road had done its usual work: dust in the eyes, stones under sandals, heat rising from the ground like the earth had swallowed a fever and regretted it. The child crying when Mara's milk came late, Mara walking until her face went quiet in the way that meant pain had stopped asking permission to exist. All of that was true. None of it was the reason. The reason was dead. Dagon had avoided the word for 3 days because dead is a door that locks from the other side. Killed was easier. Killed had a subject. Rome killed him, men killed him, fear killed him, priests, crowds, soldiers, procedure, wood, nails, the whole ugly machinery of the world killed him. Dead was worse. Dead said the machinery had finished. Mara slept under a tree with the child against her chest, both of them wrapped in the same rough cloth. The baby had finally stopped making the small hungry sounds that cut Dagon more sharply than knives, and Mara's face, freed from the work of staying awake, looked younger than grief had any right to allow. She was his wife. That fact still startled him, not because he did not want it. Wanting had become the least of it. Wanting was easy, almost cheap, beside the terror of being responsible for the life of someone who knew him and stayed. Jesus had joined their hands in a room too close to danger and had looked at Dagon with that terrible kindness that made escape feel childish. Love is not shelter from loss, Dagon remembered him saying, or near enough. Love is the shape courage takes when loss is possible. Dagon had laughed then because laughing was safer than understanding. Jesus had laughed too, the part that broke him now, not the sayings everyone else remembered. Not kingdom, signs, judgment, mercy, shepherds, bread. Those were too large and had too many people carrying them already. Dagon remembered the laugh. He walked away from the tree because he did not want Mara to wake and see his face come apart. There are kindnesses a man still refuses because his pride survives longer than his strength. The water lay beyond the reeds, low and silver under morning light. Not the same water as the stories, perhaps. Dagon did not know lakes the way fishermen did. To him, water was water, need, danger, mirror, road that would not hold a foot. But the sight of it brought back the boat story. Men whose hands knew rope had told that story with silence around it. Jesus over the water, fear in the boat, a voice where the storm should have been. Dagon had argued with the story in his own mind for months because some miracles offended even the part of him that wanted to believe nothing. Now he would have accepted anything. A shadow on the water, a voice mistaken in wind, a trick of light, one more impossible thing if it would mean the man was not only memory. He reached the edge and dropped to his knees, not in prayer. His legs simply ended their service. The mud accepted him without ceremony. "I do not know how to do this," he said. The water answered by moving. "I know how to steal. I know how to run. I know how to carry messages badly and live when better boys do not. I know how to make women angry and children suspicious. I know how to hold bread until shame opens my hand." His voice sounded strange outside his body, too young, too old. "I do not know how to lose a friend." That word did it. Friend. He had not said it while Jesus lived, not aloud. A man like Dagon did not call a holy man friend. He could call him teacher with sarcasm, trouble with affection hidden under complaint, dangerous when he wanted Mara to stop smiling at him. Friend was too equal and too needy. Friend gave the other person a place to die from. He bent forward until his hands sank into the mud. "You should have told me," he said. Then anger came, which was mercy because anger could stand where grief fell. "No, you did tell them. You told everyone in riddles and temple words and sheep stories and bread. You said enough that now every fool who loved you can pretend he should have known." The water blurred. "I did not know." He wiped his face with the heel of his hand and made it worse. "I thought you would move at the end. I thought you would do what men with power do, show the hidden blade, call the crowd back, break the soldiers' hands. Step down from the wood just to make Rome learn surprise." His breath hitched. "I thought you were stronger than that." The sentence struck him after he said it. He folded around it. "No," he whispered. "No, I am sorry." He had not cried when the nails went in. He had not cried when Mara shook so badly he had to hold her upright. He had not cried when the child cried in the dark and all he could think was that the world was too filthy a place to bring new breath into. He cried now, not cleanly, not like men in poems. He cried like a body trying to rid itself of poison through every opening it had. Snot, spit, water, breath, shame. His shoulders shook until the mud took both hands and held them there. "You fed me," he said. The prayer beneath the prayer, the hope beneath the need, something inside him that if he could not receive it he might die, for it was the air his faith needed to breathe. Hope. You blessed my house before I knew I had one. The water moved again. This time the light moved with it. Dagon looked up. There was a figure in the reflection. He stopped breathing. The mind does strange things when it is starved of what it loves. Dagon knew this. He had seen thirsty men hear wells under stone. He had heard grieving mothers answer voices that were only wind bullying a door. He had once dreamed till he forgave him and woke with his hand bleeding because he had gripped the carved bird too hard. So he did not turn. Turning would make the madness choose. He spoke to the reflection. If you are my mind, you are late. The reflected man smiled. That was cruel. It was exactly the smile. I have been told that before, the reflection said. Dagon closed his eyes. No, often by people waiting for bread. No, and once by a thief who thought moving a water skin from the sun counted as service. Dagon's eyes opened. The world had become too sharp. Reeds, water skin at his belt, mud under nails, mourning on the surface of the lake, the reflection steady where light should not have held steady. You are not here, Dagon said. Then you are confessing to water. I have done worse. Yes, the gentleness in that yes nearly ended him. Dagon laughed once, it came out broken. You should not agree. You prefer lies now? I prefer dead men to stay where grief put them. No, Jesus said, you do not. Dagon turned, not quickly. His body had become afraid of hope. Hope was more dangerous than soldiers. Soldiers could only kill him. Hope could make him live. Jesus stood behind him at the water's edge, not shining like temple gold, not ghost pale, not arranged by heaven for easy belief, dust at the hem. Wounds where wounds had no right to be and yet did not rule him. Eyes deep and brown and alive with the same light that had once looked at Dagon's dirt and not flinched. Dagon made a sound that was not a word. Then he began to fall, not the hard fall of a man struck, the other kind. The kind where the body could catch itself and chooses not to because the earth seems more honest than standing. A hand stopped him, firm, warm, real. Dagon stared at the hand on his arm. The world changed around that warmth. I am here, Jesus said. Dagon shook his head because some part of him remained loyal to impossibility. No, yes, I saw you die. You saw truly. Then I am mad. You have been mad before. This is different. Dagon barked a laugh that became another sob. Jesus kept hold of him, not gripping, not trapping, holding as if Dagon's collapse was a thing he had time for. My child, Jesus said. Dagon flinched, not because the word hurt, because it fit somewhere he had boarded shut. Jesus saw that too, of course he did. His thumb shifted once against Dagon's arm. No, he said softly. My friend. Dagon's face broke open. There was no dignity after that. No cleverness, no road, no knife. No way to make the moment smaller and survive it. He clung to Jesus like a drowning man who had insulted water all his life. You gave me water when I tried to steal it, he said. The words came sticky out of his throat, pushing through. You looked at me like the dirt on my face counted too. He pulled back. His hands lifted to his own head and gripped his hair, then shot out to the mud at his sides like a man trying either to push the earth away or to anchor himself to it. They came back to cover his face. I don't get it. The word broke. I don't get it. Why? I cannot tell you that, Dagon. Why? I cannot give you answers. You must learn yourself. I can only illuminate the road enough that you can keep walking it. Dagon opened his mouth to argue. Do you love her? The question stopped him. Love, now. Tears had come without his permission again. He could not feel them, but he could taste the salt on his lips, and he was not sweating. The cold wind off the lake was blowing against him. Do I love her? He asked himself. Why would he ask me that now? The question had not stayed in his head. Why would you care? He said out loud before he could stop it. Jesus looked at him in the eyes, a dark gaze of intense love. The kind of gaze Dagon had not been looked at with since his father, dead 40 years now, gone into the Olam Haba. Abba. The word was older inside Dagon than he had thought it still was. I miss my Abba. Jesus let him have the missing. Then he said quietly, Greater love has no one than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Dagon did not understand all of it. He understood enough to feel it move past him on the surface of the air, like a bird he had not been ready to see lift. Every man walks a road, Dagon. Every road ends. The question is not whether you reach the end. The question is whether you walk it as the man God shaped you to be, or as the man fear shaped you to be. Love is the air your faith needs to breathe. Without it your legs may still walk, but the road becomes a thing your body does without your soul. Walk to him with love in your heart, and the gates will be lighter to open. Jesus' hand had not left his arm. Family is not always the family you are born into. It is the family you choose to carry on the road and the family that chooses to carry you. Mara is your family. The child is your family. The widow whose lamp Mara fills, the thief 2 villages over who is still trying to become smoke, they are family too, and you will know it the day you walk past one of them and feel the recognition that your Abba felt when he looked at you. Dagon was crying again. He did not know when he had started. How? He said into Jesus' shoulder. How, you ask that when you are afraid to receive. How? By the Father. That answer was too large, which meant it was probably the only true one. Dagon pulled back enough to look at him. Did Mara see? She sleeps. The child also sleeps. Why me? Jesus looked toward the water. You were leaving. Dagon swallowed. We have to. I know. They will look for us. Yes. Then why stop me? Jesus turned back to him. Because you were leaving with a weight that was never yours to carry alone. Dagon's hand went under his robe before he could stop it. The carved bird. Jesus' eyes followed the movement. Dagon hated that and needed it. I told him to come, Dagon said. Jesus waited. Illy, I told him to come because I did not want to stand near shame alone. Then I ran Hanan's message and his family. He could not finish. I kept the bird, his sister's. I meant to give it back. I didn't. I made remembering into punishment because I thought punishment was the same as truth. Jesus' face did not change into surprise, which Dagon had expected and feared and wanted. Truth is not healed by cruelty, Jesus said. I deserve it. Most men say that when they would rather suffer than be changed. Dagon looked at him. There it was again, the hard joke behind mercy, the line that cut because it loved the wound too much to flatter it. You always do that, Dagon said. What? Say things that sound gentle until they stab. Jesus smiled. You prefer dull knives? Dagon laughed, actually laughed. It hurt. It helped. The laugh woke something in the tree line. A bird lifted from the reeds and vanished over the water. Jesus looked at the lake. You have never been baptized. Dagon went still. How do you know that? Jesus gave him a look. Dagon almost smiled. Right, John frightened you. John frightened everyone with sense, and yet you kept coming near water. Thirst. Yes, Jesus said, that too. Dagon looked at the lake, the mud, the reeds, the morning, Mara asleep under the tree with the child, the road ahead, the city behind them full of death and rumor and whatever impossible thing had begun without him. I don't know the words, he said. You know enough. I know how to steal water. Today you receive it. Dagon closed his eyes, the old joke, the first one, the water skin, receiving is harder than stealing. You planned that? I planted it. That is worse. Usually. Jesus stepped into the water. Dagon followed. The lake was cold around his ankles, then his calves, then his knees, cold enough to wake the body from grief, cold enough to make the world immediate. He thought of every water he had known. Stolen water, warm water tasting faintly of berry and old wine, jars filled at a wedding, water carried by Mara, water in stories men told with silence around them. Jesus stood before him. Dagon, he said. His name sounded different in Jesus' mouth now, not caught, called. Do you turn? Dagon almost answered too quickly. Then he saw Jesus watching him with no impatience at all, and he understood this was not another road lie, not another message he could run to avoid choosing. He looked back toward the tree. Mara slept with the child, his family. The word did not frighten him this time, it frightened him less. Yes, he said. From what? Dagon looked down at the water. From running when love becomes costly. Jesus nodded. Toward what? The answer came slowly. Toward the people I have been given. And toward the one who gives? Dagon swallowed. Yes. Jesus placed one hand behind his shoulder and one over his clasped hands. Then receive. The water closed over him. For one moment there was no road, no Rome, no smoke, no Hanan, no Willie looking at him with the last boyhood in his face, no nails, no city, no hunger with its teeth in his ribs. Only water and the hands holding him under and the impossible trust that those hands would raise him. Then they did. Dagon came up gasping. Sun broke across the water. He dragged air into his chest like it was the first honest thing he had ever stolen and found he did not have to steal it. Jesus was smiling. Dagon wiped water from his face, laughing and crying together now because the body had apparently stopped sorting. You drowned me, he said. Briefly, that is your defense? You rose. Dagon laughed harder. Behind them the baby began to cry. Mara woke. Dagon turned toward her, water running from his hair into his eyes, and saw her sit upright with the child in her arms. For a moment she looked afraid, then she saw Jesus. The world held its breath. Mara did not scream, she did not fall. She looked at him as if every lamp she had ever kept had answered at once. Jesus lifted one hand, not farewell. Not yet. Greeting, Mara began to weep silently, the child crying against her, mourning opening around all of them like a room whose walls had been taken away. Dagon looked from Mara to Jesus, from Jesus to the water, from the water to his own hands. The hunger was gone, not the body's hunger. That would return by noon because bodies are faithful to their complaints. But the other hunger, the old one, the one that had made him steal even when he had enough, run even when he was wanted, hate mercy because mercy saw too much. Gone was not the word, filled. That was closer. He stood in the water with his wife and child on the shore and his friend alive before him, and for the first time